Uh, they had a vote, two-county vote, in the spring of 1970, and it failed. But it failed mainly because of Jackson County, who felt whether Southern Oregon, how strong Southern Oregon College's influence was, I don't know. But the people themselves thought, we have our education needs taken care of by that Southern Oregon College. Why do we need this thing? So they voted it down. Josephine County was they went from door to door, they went up and down the street, they worked hard, and they had more yes votes than no. So they said, we'll have our own college. We don't need that. We don't need those guys. So they presented this petition for Josephine County, presented it to the state board. The state board had to approve the start, the community had to approve the chance to have an election. So it came to a state board meeting. Well, the state board was split right down the middle on whether to approve this or not, because here we would have been the 13th of the 13 community colleges, because they liked community colleges, but 3 of the board members held out very, very strongly to say that the only way we're going to get a two-county college is just to say no and make them come back with a successful two-county vote. So when the vote came, the 7-man board at the state level, they voted alphabetically, and the first 3 votes were no. And then the next 3 votes were yes. So that's 3-3, and the chairman cast the deciding vote, and the chairman was from, it was kind of interesting, he was from Medford. Frank Van Dyke was chairman, and he cast the deciding vote yes. So the college was established on a 4-3 vote. Always felt that's not a very healthy vote to start with, but there was a good reason for doing it, and so I thought that was kind of interesting. Then when we began at the first year, this was in November, and then the legislature was meeting the next year, 71, and they established for us the amounts they'd pay for operation, for the state participation for community college, and they established us at 300 FTE. Now, I'm not going to try to get in and explain an FTE formula, but what it is that's the lifeblood of a college, of state money, of how much money you get. And we said, I told them that we're going to have more than that, because I talked before about the fact that our local financing was fairly short, and we needed that state money. So they said, no way that you're ever going to get even up to 300 FTE. There's no college in the state. There's 12 of them have been started, from Portland to Eugene to Salem to all the rest, and none of them have had 300 FTE until after the first couple of years of operation. And you're wanting to do it in the first year? We said, yeah. They wouldn't believe us. And that's one of the places where the State Department wouldn't back us up, and OCCA wouldn't back us up. So then we went ahead and opened in September. And it amazed everybody how many people we had in there. We had more than anybody ever thought. There was a special session of the legislature was held a few months later on another topic. And by law, or typically I said, the special sessions are held on one topic that needs solving. You don't do it just willy-nilly. And they don't take up other topics, because if they allowed other topics, everybody would jump in with one. But Deb Potts was a skillful legislator, and Deb Potts somehow managed to get our FTE moved up to 500. And in the year, as it turned out, I think we had 461, I think, or something of that kind. And it provided the difference of whether we'd be able to make it through the college, the year all the way through, or have to limp through those last years. Maybe those people downtown might have been right. Mm-hmm. Maybe we were going to blossom and die. So that was kind of interesting. Now, you gave me a chance to talk here about some other ones. Let me tell you. I wanted to talk a little bit about philosophy of education. How's that for a complex subject? The reason it's complex is because I have a kind of a bias on this myself. It's the fact of many people talk and talk and talk about philosophy of education. And it's good. It's kind of like I was talking about the graduation of caps and gowns. I don't knock it. It's good. And it's good to talk about it. But very, very often what happens is you develop one that is so complex that very few people understand it. And it's put at the start of your documents, or it hangs on the wall, or it does all of this. Whether people understand it or not is another thing. And it's not, to me, it's not any good unless the people in your organization understand it. I'm often reminded about one place where they had a grand flowing one up on the wall of the office up there. And they had a fire. A fire destroyed the building. And they said to the administrator, they said, what's your worst loss during that fire? He said, they burned up our philosophy. Well, everybody forgotten what it was by the time it got up there on the wall, and here they burnt the thing up, you know. Well, ours we tried to keep pretty simple. We didn't even call it a philosophy. I had developed by the time I was a superintendent a philosophy of my own, which translates easily into community college. And it says that every person has worth and dignity and should have the right to develop this to the best of his ability, best of his or her ability. And that's a pretty simple statement, but it says a lot. It says a terrific amount, and it says more if you believe it. Well, we said this over and over and over enough times that what happened was we did believe it. And what happened, they had and it was rather fascinating, because at the first accreditation meeting we'd been underway for 5, 6, 7 years, something like that, when they had the first full-scale accreditation meeting. They went around and talked to everybody, and the staff, classified staff, everybody. They came back and said, one of the most amazing things is these people, regardless of who it is we talk to, they all understand the same thing. What do? Do you stamp this on their brain or something? I said, no, we haven't even talked to anyone. We don't make any effort to tell anybody that. It's just the way we do it. And that's true of the college today. That's one of my greatest pleasures, is to go and see that people still are caring in this college. They care for one another, and they respect the worth and dignity of everybody that's here. And so I thought that was a kind of an interesting study. Now, I am almost to the end here, but I have to conclude with two of my favorite stories. One of them was probably after about the third or fourth, fifth year, or something of that kind. We were there was a class being taught at Oregon State at the graduate level on community colleges. Dr. Carpenter was the head of that thing. And as part of it, they would take up, students came from various administrative services and community colleges generally. And they would take up a topic, and as part of the topic, they talk about how they did it in Oregon Community College. And they said, well, in Portland we did it this way. Well, in Mount Hood we did it this way. In Chemeketa, this is the way we did it. They had all the colleges, had 12 colleges represented, but there was nobody in there from Rhodes, just by accident. There was one person in from Rhodes, but she wasn't from Rhodes Community College. She was from Medford. A gallon came there. And they said, well, we don't know what's going on at Rhodes, you know. People in Rhodes very often feel they're not a part of the state. They said, she said, well, why don't we send her down to visit and come back and report to us? So they sent her down, and she said, oh, I'll be glad to. I'll go down and I'll get to spend a couple of days down there. And so she came down. So I talked to her when she first came down, and I introduced her to Glenn Nielsen and some other people, and told her I want this gal to be able to go anywhere, see anything, answer all her questions or anything. I said, come back and